Bonjour de la belle France. In 2015 I developed and built this freestyle fin with a minimum of knowledge and zero experience, and in this video I will tell you the story and how very successful riders, even one PWA rider, used it to win national freestyle titles, and I will talk about the shape and why I finally decided to stop the project. So have fun watching this video. There's another video about how I built this fin step by step. I link this in the description below. But first I recommend to listen to the story because it's a hell of a story. We have a big problem with seaweed at the windsurfing spots, which gets stuck here in the fin and it makes you really slow. And especially in freestyle, this is a big problem because obviously you want to go fast to go high, and it kind of sucks if you have seaweed in your fin. So everybody needs a good freestyle weed fin, but there was no good freestyle weed fin on the market. The only two fins that were on the market at that time were the Choco Fins Weed Star and the Maui Ultra Weed freestyle fin. I've tried them both, my friends tried them both, and they were really slow, really not great. So I had the idea to create one myself, and fortunately I worked at Wagboards at that time in Konstanz at the Bodensee in the very south of Germany, where I learned all my knowledge, which I present here on the channel. So I developed a concept, and as you can see, the concept is really simple. You have this line, this is a fixed part of the design because obviously the weed needs to slip off here, it's about 45 degrees. And other than that, I will talk about the shape of the fin later in more details. And I started to build the first mold. A mold is the negative form of this. And this is my current mold. This is a good one. My first mold was way uglier. And I managed to build the first fin. This is my first fin. I still have it. This is the golden treasure because this is where it all began. And I tried it in my home spot Leppenhafen on Fehmarn and I liked it. It was fast and stable and I could do all the tricks. It was great. So I wanted to reproduce it, but unfortunately the first mold was broken when I made this fin due to a problem with the release agent. So I made another mold, and once I had the mold I made the second fin, but when I wanted to demold that, the mold and the fin broke. And this, maybe you can imagine, was kind of a thriller because I had this golden treasure in my hands, but I couldn't reproduce it, and there was also the danger that when I try to build a third mold, then maybe I break this fin and the mold, and then I don't have anything anymore. So I went to the online shop of HP Textiles and bought a proper mold building resin and a proper release agent, and finally managed to make a nice mold. So this was the point when I could reproduce the same fin over and over again. So I made some of them and gave them to my friends, and they loved them as well. One of them even preferred it over his normal non-weed freestyle fin because it's such a free and fast feeling. And 2 weeks later, after a windsurfing session, one of the best German freestylers at that time, Adrian Beholz, he also took part in the PWA, came to my van after the session and asked, hey Tim, I heard you have a good freestyle weed fin, can I try it? And I said, of course you can try it. He tried it and he loved it as well. To cut it short, this year, or maybe the year after, I don't remember, he won the GFB tour, the German Freestyle Battle Tour, with my fin. The German freestyle battles are a really great contest format here in Germany, organized by mostly Valentin Böckler and some other really motivated guys, invented in 2013 by Adrian Beholz. The events are really spontaneously, so they can make sure that there's always a lot of wind in these events, so they are a lot of fun. Okay, back to Adrian Beholz and this fin. He said, quote, finally not a rock in the back of the board anymore, because apparently that's how he experienced the other freestyle weed fins at that time compared to this one. The only bad thing he said about that, if you go upwind really far, then it's not 100% stable anymore, but still he liked it a lot. 1 year later, another top guy of the German freestylers, Matthias Genke, also won the GFB tour with this fin. I only managed to get 1/6 place in Lettenhafen with this fin, which was, for me, it was quite good. And I also sponsored a fin as a prize at this event. So this was a really, I really enjoyed that time a lot. So what I did was I took the opportunity, developed a website and a brand name and tried to sell the fin. This is my brand name and this is really stupid. It's meant to be kind of a phonetic spelling of my nickname at that time, T-Boy. I'm called Tim, so T-Boy was my nickname from some of my friends. And this is meant to be a phonetic spelling like T-Boy if you scream it a little bit. But it's a really stupid brand name because, as you can see, it's hard to read. It's hard to pronounce. Some even today say, you do these T-Boy fins, no? No, T-Boy. And yeah, it's hard to spell, it's hard to remember. It's the worst brand name I could think of. But I realized that too late. Anyway, I made a website, which was kind of beautiful. And in fact, I sold a few fins and all the buyers were really satisfied with it. But time after time, I learned quite interesting things about the business and started to drop the project for several reasons. Firstly, it was not really possible to compete with the bigger brands because making such a fin is a big effort, but to become a full sponsor, for example, of Matthias Genke, I needed a full range of fins, like a freestyle wheat fin, a normal freestyle fin, wave fins, and Matthias asked me several times for that, but I couldn't do it. I didn't have the time, I had to go to university, and after a year Matthias Genke told me, sorry, your fin is great, but you can't offer me the whole range. I prefer Maui Ultra fins as a sponsor, and I understood that perfectly well. So this was one reason. The second reason was that there's no big market for freestyle wheat fins in the world. I think Germany is the country with the biggest seaweed problem for windsurfers. Then this fin has a real downside compared to G10 fins. It's not as durable. G10 is the material that most fins are made of these days. And if you hit a rock, G10 will get hurt less than this fin. And combined with the fact that this fin was about double the price like a comparable G10 fin, this is a real downside. Especially if you take into account all the shallow spots in northern Germany. We all know these crashes where we slide backwards and then hit the ground or even a rock like that. And yeah, so this was a real downside, especially because the guys who use the freestyle fins, who do freestyle, are usually the young guys who don't have a lot of money. And I didn't have my channel at that time, so they couldn't look up how to repair their boards and make them last longer. And it was totally clear that it's a tough decision to pay double the price for a fin that is less durable, even though the performance is much better. But there was another reason, another side story that I didn't tell that gives a little bit more spice to this whole thing, and I will talk about it now. It's the story about the robbery of the design. So when the fin became a little bit popular in the German freestyle scene, a person approached me, let's call him Bob, and Bob was an engineering student and he was really amazed by the design, and he said, "Wow, Tim, let's cooperate. I have a 3D modeling program. I have access to milling machines in the university, and I can make you aluminium forms. And yeah, let's do this together. Let's make it big. Let's cooperate." And we met a few times, and finally I gave him the fin to measure it, and then I waited for results. And I waited for days and weeks and months. And then one day I was on Facebook and I found a picture of a team rider of mine who I had given the fin for a really low price to make promotion. And I reposted the picture and said, yeah, this is blah blah blah, ripping with a T-Boy fin, great fin, blah blah blah. And a few minutes later, a friend of mine wrote me a message saying, "Tim, this is not your fin, this is Bob's fin. Bob is producing his own fins, And yeah, he's trying to sell it, and your team rider is using his fin in this picture. And what Bob had done, in fact, was he managed to have better equipment, for example, 3D modeling program, 3D milling machine, but still produce an inferior product. No, okay, that's not fair. So this is a fin of Bob. I got this from a friend of mine, and to be fair, this is probably one of the really early models. I'm pretty sure that they got better with the time. And yeah, but in fact, Bob had taken my concept and drawn the fin in his 3D program. That's why it's not 100% equal. So this was the first version of my fin, and as you can see, his tip is a little bit longer and thinner. But yeah, I think it's fair to say that it's similar, and I think it's also fair to say that it's quite improbable that Bob would have produced fins without meeting me, and even more improbable that if he would have produced fins, they would have looked so similar to mine. So this was not really great for me, although I had given up the project halfly already, and we had some ugly conversations online. But yeah, what can you do? So Bob tried to scale the business. He gave away a lot of freestyle fins for a low price to have a good promotion, and he printed t-shirts. But I think he pretty quickly realized the same as I had realized before. There's no money in this business, and it's not really worth, and it's a dirty work, like with all the chemicals and the dust. Not really rewarding. Yeah. Today I have very few customers left to buy the fin from time to time. I made this, for example, for a friend of mine, and this is also why I make this video now, the inspiration kind of. And of course I still ride these fins myself. So this would be the point of the video where I wanted to show you how I built one of these things, but the video would have been much too long, so I linked that video in the description below, so you can click that later. And now I will talk about the shape details in detail of this fin. This is the finished fin. I will go through the shape details now. Okay, as I said, this is clear. It's a clear part of the concept because the seaweed needs to slip off there. This is one of my very early fins, and although I copied this angle from regular weed fins, not all of the weeds managed to slip off here. I don't know why, maybe because of the surface of the carbon, I don't know. And as you can see, I changed the angle as a consequence of that. And the surface I lost here, I added here, plus a little bit more surface, because I wanted more surface. And I think a little bit more length, but I think this is a little bit broken already. So far about this angle. Then you want as much surface as possible, as far in the front as possible. So yeah, you decide about the width of the tip, and then you do this line. It doesn't make sense to make a curved line here or like that, and all. It's clear that this has to be straight as well, and then you have this tip. And now some thoughts about this tip and this line. It's obvious that this edge needs to be as sharp as possible, yeah, if you are not afraid of cutting yourself, because otherwise you will have a vacuum. If this was really thick, you will have a vacuum here, which would slow down the fin. And as a consequence, it would be smart to continue this line straight down here to continue this sharp edge, because as soon as you go this curve inside, you go further into the profile of the fin, and the profile gets thicker into the middle. And considering only that, it would be smarter to continue this line straight and also this line quite straight. So it would look kind of like that. And as you can see, the fin has more profile, more surface now. And yeah, it would be able to have a really sharp edge right here. But also you would have a really pointy tip. And this is why I decided against this and made this curve, because these fins get damaged a lot on the ground, and this pointy tip would be, like after 2 sessions, it would be gone. So I preferred to have a little bit more durable tip here by having this curve, and by having this curve, this area is a little bit more thick and more durable. And I preferred that over the really sharp edge, and I'm really satisfied with that decision. This is the profile of the fin. It's only 7 millimeters thick at the thickest point, which is about a millimeter less than in usual freestyle fins. I made this decision for speed, and yeah, by now it didn't show a lot of downsides, as the fin is working quite well. And it's a profile like the upper surface of a plane wing, only stretched. Like a plane wing would be like this, and if you stretch this, then it becomes like this. So this is the physical kind of curve, I think. And to be honest, when I made this first fin and I created this profile, I just guessed. Yeah, that's how you can say it. I just guessed, I made a few logical thoughts, and then I just guessed, I tried it, and I was very lucky that it came out so good. Now about the head, and the head is a bigger issue than you might think, because it needs to fit perfectly into the boxes, and even the boxes, in my experience, in the serial boards are slightly different from time to time. And even if they were not, it's quite a big issue to make a head that is perfectly fitting in these boxes, so this surface is completely even with the bottom of the board. For example, Bob, he did manage to do this with that fin, as you can see in this picture. And again, to be fair, this is probably one of his first fins. I guess they became better over time. For example, the head is too short. So what I did, I just tried a lot of times. I made a lot of different heads, and when I found one that fit perfectly into my boards and a few other boards, then I made it into a serial head. And the special aspect about my fin is, as you can see, this area. As you can see, this is how it's normally done. Deeper cutout and a cross-threaded bolt here where the screw goes in. And I think they do it that way because it's the most practical way to do it. Because in serial fin building, they have CNC milling machines who grind the fins and who finish them. And there's no other way to. Then they drill a hole in there and put this cross-threaded bolt and a hole here, and so they solve the problem of how to fix this fin into the board. I can't think of a different way if you use this method of building the fin. I use another method to build the fin, and so I can use another method to put in my thread. However, this solution seemingly has another advantage compared to this solution. The idea is that this is a predetermined breaking point. The idea is that if you hit a rock with the fin, then this rips out and the board doesn't get damaged so much. The box in the board doesn't get ripped out, for example. Maybe the fin doesn't break off. But I think that doesn't make so much sense, because if this rips out, you usually lose the fin. Even I don't think that these fins swim, although they are so light. And G10 fins, they swim. So probably you will just lose the fin. And even if you get it back, it's not that easily done to put a cross-threaded bolt back in and to stabilize it here on top. It's you have to be a little bit stacked with knowledge to do that. So doesn't make sense so much in general, and especially for a small fin like that. I think that this would never rip off. So you rather hurt the fin here, or you bump upwards before this rips off. And you saw what I did to solve this problem, and also this makes the producing of the fin really simple, because it's also not that easy to position this perfectly to avoid any problems of the screw going into the thread. And also I think that this looks really cool. It's kind of futuristic, it's different. You don't have this ugly area. Okay, I admit this is extremely ugly. I did this not perfectly. But even on normal fins, in my opinion, this is more beautiful than to have a cross-threaded bolt here. And yeah, maybe another idea is that you can replace this cross-threaded bolt if the thread is damaged. Yeah, maybe. So one problem I have with this is that they use this metal to make those cross-threaded bolt, and this metal tends to corrode a little bit quicker than stainless steel, and so they break a little bit earlier than stainless steel. And yeah, if everything works perfectly with the screw and the thread, then it doesn't break this thread. And I use stainless steel, and I never had problems with it. It's a solution that just works and lasts very long. Okay, that's it about this fin. Thanks for listening. I hope you liked the story and learned something about how to build a fin. Obviously, I didn't show how to build the actual mold, which is the first step to build such a fin. The reason why I didn't do that is that I didn't have to build a mold for myself because I have one and I don't need more fins. But if you really want it, then I can create a new fin and build a new mold and show you this process as well. Just let me know in the comments, and maybe you can convince me to invest time in that topic. Alright, thank you for listening. Bye bye.
Okay, that's it about the story and the shape of this fin. If you're interested in how it is built, then click the video down in the video description, and I'll see you there. Bye bye, thanks for watching, and enjoy riding. Bye.
And I think that the wheat fin of Maui Ultra, the wheat freestyle fin, became better and is comparable now. I would be really keen to compare them one day. We'll use the next opportunity. Or the other way around, if someone wants to try this fin, then hit me up on my Instagram. I post the Instagram below the video.